In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a simple monthly calendar using Google Sheets. If you've never used it before, it is a free online tool and it is very similar to Microsoft Excel or Numbers for Mac. So if you have used either of those, then you won't have any problems using Google Sheets. The only real difference is some of their menus are compressed. Up the top here, so you just need to click these little drop-down arrows and it will show you the rest of the options. So I just made this one quickly for an example. So let's start from scratch. So if you don't have a Google account, make sure you make one. Go into Google Sheets and then just go into a blank template. I'm just going to do a new tab. Okay, so with making a monthly calendar, I'm doing the traditional box format. You can do list format and pretty much anything that you want in Google Sheets. Let's just do the box format though for this one. I do have a weekly planner tutorial in Google Sheets as well, which I'll have the link to down below if you wanted to do a vertical weekly planner layout. Okay, so first things first, you need to decide what day of the week you want your monthly calendar to start. I personally prefer a Monday week start, but you can do whatever you want. I'm going to type out the full names of the days of the week, but you could abbreviate just the 3 days if you wanted to. I'm going to not add a notes column, but you can do so if you want to. You would just type in notes or to do or whatever else you want to put in there. Now, I'm not putting anything down the side here, but you could put like week 1, week 2. You could rotate the text. So if you click up the top here, so in Excel, you'll see the little arrow that appears. In Google Sheets, you just click the letter of the column or the number of the row, and that will highlight everything for you. So this one here, if we just rotate the text, we can flip it so that it shows on the side, and then if you want to change the column width of anything, you just left click and drag. When it appears, you can increase the font size and change the fonts for everything all at once in the entire sheet. If you click this box up here, it will select everything. So let's change the font size. 10's a bit small, so you can either keep this digitally on your computer and just use it like a digital planner. You just log into Google Sheets, put whatever you want, in there, and you can just constantly be updating. If you want some sort of digital planning system that maybe you don't have an iPad or don't want to use GoodNotes, then something like this is another option. If you want to print it, I would recommend no smaller than font size 14. Otherwise, I think it gets a bit small to read. If you are not sure about the page size, just make it at full page size, so like 8.5 by 11 inch or A4 page size, and then print it to a PDF from Google Sheets, and then in your actual printer is where I would recommend you resize it. So if you wanted like personal page size, A5, etc., you can enter in custom dimensions, and it will automatically proportionally shrink everything for you, so you're not here trying to figure out what size should I make things. It will just do the work for you, and that's pretty common with most printers. So unless you've got some very, very basic, like cheap printer, I can't imagine you're going to have any difficulty with entering in a custom page size in that menu of your printer. I'll have a link down below to the tutorial if you are not sure what I'm talking about. So here, I'll just left click and drag, and I'm just going to make these columns a bit bigger because Wednesday is longer than Friday, so let's just expand out the column widths. The reason I've left clicked and dragged to select all of them is that you can see it will resize it all at once. So rather than me sitting here going like this and then guessing what size do I need for Wednesday, that just takes way too long. Just left click and drag, and then you can resize all at once. Now, I have this thing about making sure everything is aligned to the center. I don't like having it aligned to the left for titles or anything like that, so I'm just going to move that to the center, and this is what I mean about some of Excel's tools being sort of hidden. So you need to click the drop down to get the center align button, and I'm going to make it bold. I like all my headings to be bold. I don't need this week column. I don't want it, so I'm just going to click up the top here and delete it. So I've got my days of the week. You can change your font as well. I'm just going to leave it at the default, but if you wanted to, you can pick any of these other fonts in here. If you click more fonts, I believe you can choose any like Google font if you search for it. There's plenty coming up here already, so you shouldn't really have an issue with finding the font that you want. I recommend going with just a block font. If you do a cursive font, it can be quite difficult to read. If you want to do a cursive font, then let's insert some new rows. And one thing that I like about Google Sheets versus Excel, if you left click and drag down, it's going to give you that number. So I chose 3, and it's like, okay, yeah, I did want 3, or no, I didn't want 3. You can just go 2. So I do like that little function there. So let's say you were doing this for January and you did want that cursive font. Let's just pick one. I'll just go with lobster. And for my headings, I usually go bigger. Now I've got that shoved to the side here, but let's expand it and merge the cell. So if you left click and drag across, there is a function in Google Sheets, I'm just trying to find it, where you can merge. There we go. Click merge horizontally, and then that will create this as one thing that you can move all together. You can expand that out. You can color the cells. If you want to align it to the middle of that box, you need to click this button here and it will move it to the middle. And that's the same with anything. You can put it to the middle if you want. Okay, so now we need to add in our dates and all the rest of the weeks of the month. So for this one here, I created a sort of like a color block background. The reason that I did that is because if you put the date in here, if you type 1, for example, you can totally do that if you want to. You just need to make sure that your formatting goes up to the top, and then when you want to type in the box, you press Alt and Enter on your keyboard for a new line. So maybe you go, my birthday, and then, oops, didn't realize that was on caps lock. And then maybe Alt Enter. Maybe you've got movies at like 11 a.m. whatever. You can hit Alt Enter for new lines. So if you don't want this color block, I'm going to call it that, divider, you can just enter it straight into the boxes. But I like the look of that line here. And then also you can change the colors. So if you want to do rainbow, so I did rainbow text for these days of the week, but you could do rainbow for the background here instead. So you go like orange, and then the next week if you want to color code, so maybe you have a weekly planner layout, you can have them all color coded for that week, and then that references back to this monthly calendar, which is in the corresponding color. So if you like to color code like I do, that's a quick and easy way to do so, because you don't have, obviously not doing this on paper where you can do colored pens. If you're keeping this digitally, you can still incorporate color that way. You can change the color of your text too if you want, but I think it's becomes a bit harder to see depending on what color that you pick. So I tend to just do black text for digital planning in Google Sheets or Excel or anything like that, and then try and incorporate the color into the actual design rather than the text that I'm typing. Okay, so getting back to here, I'm going to just left click and drag, and I'm going to change the color of this. I'm going to go with black, a nice bold background. You could do something a bit more subtle, like maybe a gray if you want to. I'm just going to go with black. So I've already done that once. We can now just copy that down. So I've already got them highlighted. I just left click and dragged. Press Control C on your keyboard to copy. Click where you want to place it, and then press Control V, and we'll paste that down a few times. So depending on how you want to set yours up, I don't like to do split boxes, and you can't really actually do that in Google Sheets. You have to have a separate box for each day. So I'm going to go 5 for 5 weeks. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And I'm going to add a border around all of this. So if we left click and drag, this is where I want the border to go around. If you click this box here, I'm going to go all borders. I've left it on black, but if you wanted to do different colors, you just click this here and choose from the drop down menu. You can also add in custom colors if you want. Just click the plus sign, find it on the little color picker, or enter in the 6-digit hex code. So if you're using a tool like Design Seeds is one of my favorite, and getting different color combinations, you can use any color that you want in Google Sheets. Lots of options to choose from. You can change as well. So if you don't want a solid line, maybe you want a fatter solid line, or maybe you want a really fat dashed, etc. So choose the line style and then click the borders, and then it will update. So you can see that went to more of a bold outline. If you don't want an outline like on the edges, you can play around with this and maybe choose no outer border or just one border. So I'm going to do it here. So we can turn that border off or on. Because I've already chosen it against all of them, that's why it's not coming off. You can choose the undo button if you need to go back. So that is the borders. Now I'm going to make these boxes bigger because obviously we can't really fit much in them. So we can resize multiple boxes at the same time. Just press the Control key and then click on all of the rows that you want to resize. And then that way we can do it all at once rather than trying to sit here and work out what size we chose for the first row and then remember that and do it for the rest. You can see that very quickly and easily just updated it all for me. Much like when we resize the columns up here, same thing. Okay, so I've got my boxes. Now I'm going to add my dates. So let's say that Tuesday was the first. I'm just going to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can't see that because the font is set to black. So if I'm doing a black background here, I like to choose white font. It makes it easy to see, nice and bold. I've kept the same font style, just that Arial, but you can change that as well. So you have one font for the heading, one font for the days of the week, and then another font for the numbers if you want to. I'm just going to populate, oops, undo. I may as well make that white while I'm at it so we can see it when I add them. I'm just pressing Control and then left clicking and dragging to make that all white. Oops. 7, 8, 9. I was hitting the down key on my keyboard. 13, 14, 16. I like to have these numbers center aligned, but you could align them to the left if you want to. You choose, oops, not merge. This one here, if you wanted to move them to the left. You can set it up so that it will automatically add all the rest of the numbers. However, it doesn't work very well when you have it starting in the middle of the week. So I just prefer to just manually add the numbers. You only need to do it once. And then if you look at a calendar, you'll probably see that actually the same start date happens a few times throughout the month. So if the Tuesday of the 1st for January, it might happen again that August later of that year, it also starts with the 1st being on a Tuesday. So you can just recycle the calendar and just change the top up here would become August, that's it. And the great thing about using Google Sheets is that you can just duplicate the tab. So if you create this template and you want to use it for each of the 12 months of the year, you only need to do it once, and then you would right click duplicate. It will create a copy for you, and now you can see I've got the same thing. So January, if that has the same days, I'm done. That's it. Like it's already there, already the box is there. So that saves you a ton of time. So I've got my boxes. You can choose to do whatever you want with these boxes at the end here. I'm just going to leave them blank. You could type in maybe your goals, so maybe goal 1, and then you can type that in, goal 2, goal 3, or whatever you want to put there, maybe some reminder, maybe some monthly routine task, whatever it may be. Okay, so let's change some colors. So I already showed how to change the colors of the background here. If you want to change your font, just left click and drag. Click this one here and then put whatever font color that you want. Let's go with orange. Or click this here and let's use the little color picker. Let's find a pink. That looks quite nice. You can color code each of your weeks. If you want to type in any text, just go, maybe here you do your end of month review for the previous month. Sometimes you will have text that goes over the top of boxes like that. So make sure you choose, there's a wrap text function, and you want to pick this one here, which means it'll push it down to the next line. And then again, I like to have mine left aligned and then aligned to the top. I don't know what it is about Google Sheets, but it wants to align it to the bottom. And I much prefer when it aligns it to the top, because then I would still have space here to write. So if you have tasks that you know are going to happen each month, your recurring things, you can pre-type them into this template, print it out, and then you just add in whatever's different for that month. So save you a ton of time already having it pre-filled. You can color code these boxes as well, much like with the headings up the top here. So if you wanted the first to be yellow or the whole first week to be yellow, whatever color you want it to be, you can do that. If you want to change the color of your text, same thing, maybe not that yellow, it's a bit hard to see. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I don't really have anything else to add. You can add, I suppose, things like clip art and graphics using there's a picture function, much like in the actual Excel. I think it's in insert image. And then if you have little clip art that you've got off Etsy or you've made it yourself in another program, you can insert that in. If you're going to use images, I recommend that you use PNG file format, because PNG has a transparent background behind it, so you can layer it over the top. So in some of these extra boxes here, maybe you want to put a little one of your little doodles or some sort of little icon, or maybe you're doing a theme for August that you're going to, actually maybe like for December you had like Christmassy theme, you could put a little Christmas clip art in there. So you can decorate that way if you wanted to by inserting an image. You can add things like checkboxes, but it will take up the whole cell, so you can't really type anything else in there. You'd have to have like checkbox, and then you would have to have your text in here, because once you've got that in there, you can see we can't type anything else. It's like a formula thing, so you need to type it in here, so that doesn't really work for doing a checkbox within the cell. One way to get around that, though, is to change the font. So if you type and lowercase o, and then if you change that to, is it going to come up? Let's go to Wingdings is the font. No, okay, not in there. Normally the Wingdings font, if you make it a 0, it will turn into a checklist. So maybe you just want to go with an O, and that can be your little task box. And then when you print it out, you can shade in the O once you've completed that task. So that's a few options for making a monthly calendar. Hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, just comment below. If there's any other tutorials you would like to see on making printables, let me know. I have done a few tutorials, Google Sheets, there's Photoshop, I did PicMonkey, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word. So there's a few options that you can use. And yeah, just let me know if you have any suggestions in the comments box below. Hope you found it helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you did. See you in the next video.